Hey guys, on this video, we're going to talk about where should you buy your first deal? Because there's so many different cities out there. How do you even choose the one that you want to invest in? If you don't know me, my name is Ryan Chaw. I'm a pharmacist who bought real estate on the side and slowly built it up until it replaced my pharmacist salary and I was able to retire from pharmacy and be a full-time real estate investor. Now, I would say there are 4 steps to figuring out which city and which specific neighborhood you want to invest in. Step number 1 is to choose the right strategy because depending on what strategy you choose, it will determine whatever city that you invest in. For example, let's say you are doing Airbnb. Well, probably in that case, you want to be near a popular vacation spot. It could be like a beach, for example. Or let's say you want to invest near a ski resort in the mountains. In that case, you'll invest in a city with high altitude that has a lot of snow. Let's say instead your strategy is to do what we call midterm rentals, which is basically renting out to travel nurses. In that case, you probably want to be near a large hospital that employs a lot of travel nurses that you can rent your house out to. For me, I do student housing, so I want to be near a top college. Now, the second step to deciding on which city and neighborhood to invest in is to figure out who your target customer is. Not only do you have to figure out who your customer is, you really have to understand them at a deep level. You need to know what are their pain points, what are their things that they're looking for specifically when they're looking for housing. For example, let's take the strategy of investing in a lodge in the mountains to rent out to people who are skiing. Most people who are up in the mountains obviously want a house that's well insulated from the snow out there, and they're probably looking for amenities such as a hot tub or a jacuzzi. Because it's really cold outside, a lot of people like to warm up in the jacuzzi, and so that might be something that you want to provide for your rental. Or you might want to buy a property that already has a jacuzzi built into it. And let's say you're going to buy a property for travel nurses, well, you probably want to keep the place fully furnished so that the person can move in and move out and they don't have to spend all this time looking for furniture for a place that they only want to stay in for a month. That's why there's this platform that's literally called Furnished Finder that caters towards travel nurses who are looking for furnished properties available. Now let me go ahead and talk about my target customer. So I rent to college students and I look for top colleges. Usually these colleges are ranked very high, and so I'm looking for colleges that offer a lot of graduate programs in continuing education, such as colleges that offer pharmacy degrees, dental degrees, medical degrees, nursing degrees, engineering, MBA, or a law degree, or basically these schools that have a lot of professional degrees available. So that's my type of customer. And so now what I ask myself is, what does a college student look for in housing? Well, the number one thing they look for is being close to the school. So convenience and proximity to campus is really important for them. They don't want to be waking up at 6 a.m. to go on a half-hour commute just to get to campus. They want to be as close to campus as possible, ideally. So naturally, I'll try to buy a property that's within a 5-minute drive or walking distance to campus. Another thing that students and probably their parents as well look for is how safe is the neighborhood. Let's say you're driving from your rental to the college campus. Are you passing through some areas that don't seem as safe or that have a lot of homeless people walking around or a lot of trash around the area? Well, that parent is probably not going to feel comfortable having their child stay at that rental that's in an unsafe neighborhood. And so I have to buy in neighborhoods and cities that have a generally lower crime rate if possible. Finally, the third thing that I find students really care about is affordability. Now, usually the parents are the ones paying the rent, but a lot of times when I have international students, for example, they're really trying to save as much money as they can because their education is primarily funded by stipends or financial aid or a scholarship that they got. And they're just trying to save as much money as possible because students don't make a whole lot of income. So, for example, if the parent is not financially supporting them, they're really trying to save as much as possible. And if you buy a rental, you have to make sure that you're within their budget range, because if you're a little bit above their budget range, they're going to say, no, thank you, I'm going to look for another place. Okay, so that's the customer. Step number 3 is to define your home criteria based off of what your customer is looking for. A lot of times I'll actually call up these students and I'll ask them, hey, what are you looking for in a house? That's called doing your market research by talking to the students directly. So as I mentioned before, being within a 5-minute drive to campus is my number one criteria. Two is safety of the neighborhood. So you could go to crimegate.org to see what the heat map is around the area and then figure out which neighborhoods are in safer areas. You can also check out reddit.com and look for off-campus housing best places to live. And they will give you a really good breakdown on the Reddit. What are some places to stay away from and what are some neighborhoods that students really love staying in and comes highly recommended. And generally, students like a house that's in good condition, that they don't have to worry about a lot of maintenance work having to be done on the house because they're busy studying and they don't want to be disturbed by a lot of noisy home repairs that are going on. So I usually look for houses that are in generally good condition. Now, the final criteria that I look for specifically in my market is I want to have a large square footage house. I really want houses that are larger because the more bedrooms that I can have, the more cash flow that I'll make on the rental property. My cash flow is directly correlated to how many bedrooms I can put in. For example, if I can put in 6 bedrooms and charge $600 to $700 per bedroom, that's anywhere from $3,600 to $4,200 per month in rental income. So my criteria is I look at houses that are at least 1,500 square foot or more because those typically can have up to 5 or 6 bedrooms or more. Finally, let's say you identified the strategy, you identified the customer, and identified your home criteria. The fourth and final step is to actually start looking for deals. So I go to Zillow.com or Realtor.com and I literally have found almost all of my deals on Zillow.com. Now, I did buy a few off-market deals, but very rarely. Most deals have actually popped up on Zillow, and I was just the first one to put an offer on it. So what I do is I set up these house criteria on Zillow, these filters, like you can filter by how close it is to the school, you can filter by how large square footage it is, you can filter by how old the house is, and generally older houses may require more maintenance work, so I try to stay away from houses that are too old, like over 100 years old, for instance. And then I check Zillow every single day. And my goal is to grab the house as soon as it pops up, like within a day or two of popping up. Because if I can put an offer on it on the first or second day, I usually don't have to compete with a whole bunch of other buyers who, let's say I hesitated and I waited a couple weeks or a month, they now have a chance to put an offer on there and cause a bidding war with me. And nobody wants to enter into a bidding war. Trust me, it's neither good for you or the other buyer. So what I do is I just scour Zillow and I look at it every single day. And if one pops up that's within the price range that I'm looking at, as well as very close to the campus, I will jump on it as soon as I can. Now, another thing you can do is have your realtor send you MLS listings as well that meet your criteria. But for the most part, most properties that pop up on the MLS also pop up on Zillow. So honestly, you can probably just use Zillow, but also hire an agent to help you through the buying process for yourself. Because obviously a realtor is good for a lot more than just sending you listings. They literally will go through the house with you and spot all the red flags and give you good advice about, is this property in a better condition compared to the other one that we saw? Is it a better price property than the other one that you saw? Etc., etc. Okay, great. Now that we went through the 4 most important criteria to look at when deciding on where to buy, the last thing you should really think about is what type of return on investment do you want? Now, there are 2 types of return on investment in real estate. The first one is cash flow. That's basically your rental income minus your monthly mortgage minus any expenses you have on the property. The second return on your investment is appreciation. Appreciation is the increase in the value of your home over time. Now, typically, these 2 types of ROI are inversely proportional. So as one goes up, the other one goes down. And this makes sense because think about it. If a property goes up in value over time, usually the mortgage payment is going to be higher. If your mortgage payment goes up, your cash flow will go down. Because again, remember the cash flow is rental income minus your mortgage payment minus your expenses. So it's kind of hard to have both, but there are definitely cities out there that have a good balance of both of them. Now, let's say your goal is to have more appreciation. Well, think about California, for example. California home prices are going up like crazy. And let's say you buy a property, your mortgage payment is going to be so high, it's hard for you to make enough rental income to make a good amount of cash flow. Now, it can be done. I actually have a client who bought in San Jose, California, and he rented out each bedroom for $1,200 per month per bedroom because this is in San Jose, and he rented out 8 bedrooms at the property. So he was making $9,600 per month in rental income, and his total cash flow on that house, which he bought for $1.125 million, was $5,500 per month in 2023. So it can be done to make high cash flow in a high appreciation market, but it's not super common just because they're inversely proportional. One goes up, the other one goes down. So you need to decide, okay, do I want more appreciation or do I want more cash flow, generally speaking? Now, here's the thing. Appreciation builds wealth. Typically, you will make a lot more money from appreciation than you would make from cash flow. Let's say you're making $12,000 a year in cash flow. That same house that's making $12K a year in cash flow is probably appreciating more like $20,000 to $30,000 to $35,000 per year from appreciation alone. I know because that's exactly what my first California house did. So that's why people say appreciation builds your wealth and your net worth, because generally speaking, you're going to make a lot more money from appreciation than from your cash flow on the property. Now, here's the rub though with appreciation. That appreciation is not liquid. You can't take out that money as cash easily. The only ways to actually get your money back from your appreciation is to either do a cash out refinance, a home equity line of credit, also known as a HELOC, or you sell the property. Now, those processes are 30 to 35 to 60-day processes, which takes a long time to get your cash back from, and it will require a pretty involved process to get that money back out. So if you're trying to, let's say, replace your income from your W-2 job, you want to be making cash flow because cash flow is equivalent to income. It basically pays you every single month because you make rental income on the first of every month, and then you pay out your mortgage payment and some expenses, and that leaves you with your monthly cash flow. So just like you get a paycheck from your W-2 job every month, you're getting a paycheck from your rentals every single month from the cash flow. So for those who are starting out and they really want to just replace their W-2 job as soon as possible, my recommendation would be actually to kind of start off with the high cash flowing properties so that you can slowly supplement or replace your W-2 income. That's something, again, that cash flow can do, but appreciation can't, because the money from appreciation isn't something that you can take out every single month, while the cash flow is paid every first of the month by your tenants. So me personally, I bought a couple properties in California and really built up my network quickly so that I became a multimillionaire. But I also wanted properties that had higher cash flows. So I went to states like Ohio and Alabama to make sure that I also had a lot of cash flow to replace my pharmacist income when I retired at 31. So obviously the strategy depends on what your goals are. If you're trying to really build up your net worth and become a multimillionaire, then I would definitely go the appreciation route. If you're really just trying to initially replace that W-2 job so that you can have financial freedom, you can go ahead and go the cash flow route. And then based off of that, you can go ahead and Google the top appreciating cities in the United States, or you can Google the top cities with the highest cash flow in the United States. And then from there, go through the 4 criteria that we talked about earlier for deciding which specific neighborhood and city to invest in. And that's how you follow the most important rule in real estate investing, which is location, location, location. Guys, I hope this video gave you some great information on how to really decide on where to invest in real estate. And if you enjoyed it, please don't forget to like and subscribe and share it with your friends so that I can reach more people who are really struggling with getting started in real estate investing. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.